Okay, we're going to be making our really easy, delicious ham and potato soup. So the first thing we're going to do when we start, we're going to wash our hands and we're going to get all of our ingredients and our utensils ready, and then we're going to go and do our prep work. So let's get started. For the ingredients for this recipe, there's really two parts to it. There's the one half where you're going to need the water, the salt and pepper, the ham, the potatoes, the celery, onions, and the bouillon cubes or bouillon powder. And that's going to make the one part of the soup, and then while that's cooking, you're going to make the other part of the soup, the roux, with the butter, the flour, and the milk. So really you're going to need 2 pots for this recipe, and make sure you have a whisk for your roux as well. So these ingredients don't all get added at the same time. With your butter, flour, and milk, you're going to be making your roux. And with, on the other side, with all of these ingredients, you're going to be making your stock. Ham is a nice cheap meat, very economical, so see what you have at your store and use that. Sometimes you can buy the steaks already, just buying two ham steaks, and that should do it as well. But whatever's most economical or whatever you have on hand. When you're dicing your ham, the kind of ham you get is going to depend entirely on what you have available. When I went to the store today, I bought quite a large ham only because it was on sale for cheaper than the small little hams. So what I did was I bought a big ham like this, and then I just sliced it into ham steaks, and then I cut it up into, medium dice. Think about what size of piece of ham you would want to eat in your soup. You're not going to want to eat a huge, 1-inch cube of ham, but you're not going to want to be so small that you don't know that it's ham that you're eating either. So, I don't know, a medium to small dice, I suppose. You use your judgment when you're cutting it as to how big you want that, as to how big you would eat it. So I have my 4 peeled potatoes. How you peel them is up to you. If you prefer to peel them using a potato peeler or a vegetable peeler, then great, go right ahead. I usually just use a small paring knife to take the skins off of my potatoes. It's entirely up to you. I know I prefer the paring knife, but lots of people prefer using their potato peeler or their vegetable peeler. It does save a little bit more of the potato to be able to use the peeler. Then when I'm dicing these potatoes, I want a medium to large dice. Think about what kind of potatoes, again, you want. What size is it that you would like to be eating in your soup? I'm going to do these just slightly larger than I do the ham. I always think potatoes can be slightly larger than the ham. But then when you're dicing the potatoes, what you want to remember is to try to keep them as even in size as you can. Of course, you're going to get some potatoes that are not even in size. It's the little end bit or something, or it happens right on the curve of the potato. But in general, try to keep them the same size, and what that's going to do is that's going to make sure that all of the potatoes cook evenly, and you're not going to have some potatoes in your soup that are turning into more like mashed potatoes, but they're all going to be the same consistency, so they'll have the same cooking time and the same texture for whoever's eating it, okay? So as you're going in and dicing your potatoes, just think about what size it is that you'd like your potatoes to be in your soup. I'm going to go into about like I said, a medium to large dice. Maybe my dice is going to be about 1/2-inch cubes, maybe a little bit bigger, something like that, okay? So we'll do that for all 4 potatoes. When I dice my celery, I just like to cut the ends off. I just bought celery that already had, it was, flat on the top and flat on the bottom. The leaves were mostly cut off. So I'm going to cut those little ends off, and I'm going to discard those, and I'll cut the ends off at the other side as well, and we'll discard those. And then when I want to dice my celery, I'm going to just slice this down the middle in half, and then when I start slicing down here, I'll get nice cubes. At the bottom, however, it's a lot fatter than at the top, so I'm going to get a different size. So when I get to the bottom, I just make say 3 or 4 slices at the bottom rib of the celery, and that way I'll get it all even. So I'm just going to go along the rib of the celery all the way down through. Now you'll see it's much wider on this end than this end, so I just tend to go through and make another cut on both of those ends. So I'll do that for both of my celery stalks. That one doesn't really need it there. And then I'll just put them together and I will dice my celery. Okay, step one of our delicious ham and potato soup. So the first thing we're going to do, I've got all my ingredients here. We're just going to put in the 2 diced celery stalks into the pot. We're going to put the half a diced onion into the pot. The 1 cup of ham, diced ham into the pot. And our 4 potatoes into the pot. And we're going to put our 4 cups of water as well. Now we're just going to turn that up, the stove on, and we're going to wait till that boils. And once that starts to boil, we're going to lower it to medium heat and then keep cooking it and just checking for about 10 to 15 minutes. The potatoes should be tender, and then we can move on to our next step. So all of our first ingredients, the celery, the onion, the potatoes, the ham, and the water are all in the pot, and they're going to sit in here on high until they start to boil. Then we're going to put them on medium. While these are waiting to cook, we can start on our next step, and that's getting our roux ready. Okay, now we're going to be making the roux. So we're going to be adding our 1/4 cup of butter into our pot over medium heat, and we're going to wait until it melts. And once it melts, we're going to add in the flour. We're going to whisk the flour in, and then slowly we're going to add the milk. Okay, so the butter's all melted now, and we're going to add in the flour. We're going to whisk it in, and we want to make sure that the flour, it'll get nice and thick here. This is your roux that we're starting. Get nice and thick. And then you can add your milk just a little at a time. We're adding 2 cups of milk. I'll add in about 1/2 cup of milk, and I'm going to stir that up until it's all smooth. I know it's also getting thicker because I feel a little more resistance on my whisk when I do this, and then I know the sauce is getting thicker. I don't want it to feel like my whisk is going through water. I want it to be a nice thick sauce. And about 10 minutes total time to mix everything together so that we have a nice thick cream sauce. Okay, our soup's been sitting for a bit. It's been on medium heat, so we're just going to check and see if the potatoes are ready. We just want them to be tender, so if you poke them with the fork and the fork goes easily into them, then they're done. Okay? So that's perfect. Ours are done quite well. And now all you have to do for this portion of it is add your salt and pepper and your chicken bouillon. Now, if you don't have any powdered chicken bouillon, I had bouillon cubes, so I'm putting in 2 bouillon cubes instead of 2 teaspoons of the powdered chicken bouillon. Sometimes you might have a concentrated bouillon stock. You can use that as well too. Just gives that added flavor. So that's an area where you can substitute a little bit depending on what you have in your house or what's available at your store. I'm using 2 bouillon cubes, but you can use 2 teaspoons of powdered chicken or vegetable bouillon, or you can also, if you have the condensed bouillon liquid, you can use that as well. Okay? So we're going to put those in, stir that up, and if your roux is not ready yet, then finish that up, and then we'll come back to combining the two. Okay, now I have my nice thick cream sauce over here, and it is ready to be mixed in with my lovely base over here with my potatoes. So we're just going to mix that in. And we're going to stir that. And we're going to have a fantastic, easy ham and potato soup. This would go great if you wanted to impress your family and friends. If you wanted to attempt and make some biscuits to go with this as well, what a fantastic soup and meal that would be. Don't forget to take a final picture of your plated bowl of delicious ham and potato soup.